Hello viewers, Will Underwood here from Gambling Insider. I'm here with Manav Bhargava, Indian gaming specialist lawyer. Manav, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for reaching out to me, Will. I was really looking forward to this.
Perfect. So you ran a panel on India's gaming market earlier, and it seems like a very, very interesting market for one. A lot of it seems like it falls under something of a grey area. I don't know if that's correct to say, but I'm sure you'll correct me if it isn't. Something that a lot of operators a key concept they have to adapt to is the difference between games of skill and chance. Could you give us sort of an overview of the current state of play in the market and where it's at right now?
You pointed out correctly, the distinction between games of skill and games of chance continues to be important. The market is at a place where some of the games of skill that through judicial pronouncement have been categorized as such continue to be legal. For example, poker, rummy, daily fantasy, and horse racing have been considered game of skills in India through judicial pronouncements of the high courts and the Supreme Courts. So they continue to be viewed as games of skill and continue to be outside the purview of the Public Gambling Act of the states. Different states have their own public gambling acts, but there is a consensus, especially due to the judicial pronouncements, that poker, rummy, daily fantasy, and horse racing are considered games of skill and hence not illegal. What is unique is that poker is not considered a game of skill in a lot of jurisdictions. But it is in India. Now, how do you decide whether a game is a game of skill? Courts have kind of followed the predominant test, wherein if the outcome of a game is predominantly decided by skill, it's considered a skill game.
And obviously, sort of the biggest news in recent times, I believe around a year ago, was the 28% tax hike on online gaming and some other areas as well. I think you mentioned horse racing there. That sort of decision, do you believe that maybe is an indication that there could be some more regulation coming in India's gaming market in the future?
Yes. The 28% tax has been a concern for a lot of the existing operators, the skill gaming operators. But it has a silver lining. The silver lining here is the government has now provided a tax rate, recognized it. The other thing is that the tax rate is probably at its highest. I don't believe it's going to go up further. Now it seems like a concern, but a lot of existing operators have been doing fine even after it. This is because what we have to keep in mind is, except a couple of states, there's no licensing fee. So 28% GST is what you are essentially paying. The other thing that the government has seen is that the tax revenue from gaming has grown by 400%. However, along with that, there's the one unwelcome news of a lot of users and operators moving to the grey and the black market, trying to evade tax, which I believe gives the government an incentive now that it's realized the tax revenue potential of the market to open the market further. We could see more regulation, definitely. As a lot of your readers would know, sometime back, there was a law that was proposed on the federal level to regulate games of skill through self-regulatory bodies. However, it hasn't come into force. The government was accepting feedback on it, and they realized that a lot of the self-regulatory bodies that were trying to being recognized under that law were sort of not very independent, as in they were being influenced by the existing gaming industry bodies.
So when the tax hike was announced, there was a lot of local firms that expressed concerns, as we mentioned, so there were some concerns there, that it may have an impact in the way of stifling some foreign investment. Do you think that there's been any evidence of that in the last year?
Yes. So foreign investment, when that news came out, it did slow down initially. But what happened later was that the existing investors or the bigger investors sort of doubled down on their investment, seeing especially because there was a temporary decrease in the valuation of the existing players. So they sort of thought of it as an opportunity to kind of make and made most of it. Then a lot of smaller investors were bought out by the bigger investors, who understand that the 28% tax is more of a placeholder till government decides on an appropriate regulatory regime. So there was a silver lining to that too. The bigger investors and investors that believe in the market have now doubled down on their investments, and as the market matures, they're going to reap benefits for it.
And I believe, looking back about 5 years, in 2019, there was a bid by the Law Commission in India to try and fully regulate India's market. It was an unsuccessful bid. And I was just wondering, since that time, aside from a tax hike, in the past 5 years, what do you think have been sort of the major updates in the Indian market? What's been sort of the most notable stories coming out of there, aside from last year's tax hike?
So, as I was saying, the amendment to the IT Act and the online gaming rules that came in to regulate skill gaming, that was actually major, because that kind of clarified that the prerogative and the authority to make laws on online gaming is lies with the federal government. So this is how this is how the legal landscape is. That we have two lists under the Constitution. One is a state list, and one is a union list. So the union list has subjects on which the central government can make laws, and then the state list has subjects on which they can make laws. So while betting and gambling falls under the state list, internet falls under the central list. And by virtue of that, the central government had proposed the online gaming rules as an amendment to the Information Technology Act. So that was being major. There have been a lot of judicial pronouncements that clarified that state laws cannot ban skill games. They can, through state level legislations, advise on kind of impose certain compliance requirements, but they can not certainly ban games of skill.
And just to round things off with a final question, we really appreciate your time today, Manav. We've looked back there, that was 5 years ago where the bids came in. How do you think that the next 5 years, theoretically, or even the next 12 months to 5 years, may unfold in India's gaming market? What do you see maybe happening in the future?
So as I was saying, the government has realized how big the market is, how big the illegal market is, and tax authorities and the government has significant incentive to open up the market even further, to kind of push illegal players out of the market, especially especially seeing the kind of tax revenue that the government has generated. So that's one. What I can also see is the market is going to grow even further vis-a-vis skill games. One of the top gaming companies in India, Dream 11, has been growing continuously. It has a user base somewhere around 150 million, and is valued at about $8 billion right now. So we've seen Dream 11. India has produced 3 unicorns, games 24/7, Mobile Premier League, and Dream 11, which kind of signifies how quickly the market is growing. There's been interest from foreign operators too, and I think the market is at a pivotal point and presents a great opportunity for foreign investors and operators that are looking to slightly adapt to the markets.
Well, that was wonderful. Thanks for joining us again today, Manav, and I really hope you enjoy the rest of your time here in Lisbon.
You too, Will. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Thank you.